first got it, I've always liked the look of them, but I'm not sure I loved it. Welcome to Petrol Heads London, and my name's Tom, and if you haven't watched some of my videos before, you'll see that I like to do, when I do car reviews, a quick sort of love and hate. I think that just kind of sums up the feeling for a car. Now, I've had this car for a few days, I've done a lot of motorway miles on it, the Jaguar XE. If you've watched my full review, you'll see I'm not keen on the colour and I don't like the small wheels, but those are kind of personal things. So for me, my kind of love and hate, so my loves. Honestly, this car is kind of like, does what it says on the tin. It is a compact, sort of small executive car. It will go on motorways all day long, and it is just so easy to drive. You won't get tired through driving it. It's actually really pleasant to drive as well. I've driven some stuff recently that's just been hard work and not very nice to drive. Other things are, it comes with oodles of features. A word I love to use because it's not quantifiable, but you know, full infotainment system. You know, it's the same system you get on Range Rovers. It's got, you know, it doesn't have a digital dash and stuff like that, but you know, it's got heated seats. This one's got a heated windscreen. I'm not sure that's standard, but I'm pretty sure heated seats are. Nice leather seats, really comfortable, fully adjustable. Pretty good, as I said, pretty well spec'd from standard. It soaks up the lumps and bumps, that's my other thing. On a motorway, this thing just glides along. It really, really does. This car just soaks up the lumps and bumps. Okay, we're not going very fast at the moment, but when you're ploughing along the motorway or even just going over some pretty rubbish British roads, it just soaks them up. And you know, it kind of ties in with my first point. It makes it like a really nice place to be on long journeys. Whereas my final one is, it doesn't feel big and heavy. I mean, equally so, it's not like a small hatchback and nimble, but it feels, you know, it's just quite easy to drive. That kind of comes off the other points, I know, but it doesn't feel cumbersome. The steering's quite nice. It's kind of, you know, point and shoot on the steering as much as it can be of this type of car. That sums up my loves. This car has won Compact Exec Car of the Year 2 years in a row, and I can kind of see why. I wasn't that in love with it when I first got in it, but love's a strong word, but I quite like it. And compared to other cars in this kind of, you know, category, I think it's pretty good and it's pretty well made. So let's talk about my hates. It's quite simple on this car. On this particular model, 2-litre engine, lack of grunt. It could, you know, it's not a light car. It could do with a little bit more. I've said it before, so therefore, in terms of trying to accelerate away, it kind of has a bit of a lag around it, and I think that's just because of the engine. And if you look at some of the response times on the bigger engines, it is better. This one's the R Sport model, so in terms of interior is very nice, but it doesn't quite have that punch in terms of the engine. A small one for me, but the rising gear knob, I always thought it was like quite a cool feature the way it lifts out, but I'm actually not sure I like the operability of it. I think it's minor. I wouldn't not buy this car on the basis of that. My third one is plasticky. It is like, the thing that annoys me is there are some bits that are made really well. This isn't too bad, it is plasticky. And there's bits around the dash, you know, and around the gear knob, which are just really, really plasticky, and around the console where the buttons are for the infotainment system, and also like these door pockets. They're just a bit, well, they're a bit shit, and it's such a shame because everything else, you know, it's even like lined inside to stop things scratching, but the outside is just a bit plasticky and rubbish. They've just failed on the last hurdle, and I do find that with some Jaguar cars, that they've just not quite done that last tweak. My final one is the back seats, and this gets brought up by lots of people who've reviewed this car. There's not a lot of room in there, and as you'll see, I'll show you a quick clip, is you wouldn't want to be an adult in there on a long journey. I'm not particularly tall, and I don't have this chair particularly far back, but actually even I then struggled to get in the back. So if you had two people bigger than me sat one behind each other, I think you'd really struggle. So you wouldn't want 4, let alone 5 people in this car on a long journey. That said, I think the kind of market it's aimed at is probably people who are commuting to work, who are probably ones and twos in the car, and also maybe, you know, the odd family trip in it. And it's probably ideal for that. So overall for me, this car's a thumbs up. I'd get the bigger engine. I'd see if you can spec out some of these plasticky bits as well. But it's really well made. And I also think that the bigger engines might sound less diesel-y than this one, which I didn't mention as a hate, but it's just because I'm just not a fan of that. I hope you found this short love and hate video for the Jaguar XE useful. For me, it's been a real learning experience with this car, because when I first got it, I've always liked the look of them, but I'm not sure I loved it, or I'm not sure I liked it even. And actually one thing, I really have grown to kind of like appreciate this car for what it is. I don't think I'm ever going to love a car like this just because of the type of cars I go for, but it's pretty damn good for what it, you know, for what it's intended to do. I keep saying it does what it says on the tin, and it really does. And for me, those kind of love and hates really sum it up. So I hope you found this useful. Thank you for watching Petrolheads London. Remember to look at the full review. Please remember to like and subscribe. Cheers.